You're listening to an event from the U.S. Institute of Peace, part of the USIP podcast network. For more information about our work around the world, visit usip.org and check us out on social media.
Good morning and welcome. My name is Lise Grande. I'm the head of the United States Institute of Peace. This was an institution that Congress established in 1984 as a nonpartisan public institute dedicated to helping prevent, mitigate, and resolve violent conflict abroad. It's a great honor to welcome to the institute the head of the Office of the President in Ukraine, Mr. Andriy Yermak. Andriy Yermak serves currently as the chairman of the Coordination Headquarters for Humanitarian and Social Affairs. He is a member of the National Security and Defense Council of Ukraine. In 2019, Dr. Yermak was appointed as the presidential aide for foreign policy issues. During the war in Donbass, Mr. Yermak negotiated major prisoner exchanges with Russia. Even as the Ukrainian people right now are fighting to defend their sovereignty, their territory, and cultural heritage, Ukrainian leaders are looking forward to a just and lasting peace. In March 2022, President Zelensky outlined a 10-point peace formula that will do exactly this. In his recent speech to the UN General Assembly, President Zelensky said, and I quote, "For the first time in modern history, we have the chance to end the aggression on terms the nation which was attacked demands." This is a bold, it's a profound commitment, and it's a privilege for all of us here today to better understand the approach that Ukraine is adopting so that we can better support Ukraine in its battle to defeat Russia and in its aspirations for a just peace on its terms. With your permission, Mr. Yermak, may we welcome you to the podium.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, friends, first I'd like to thank you for having me here today. It's a great honor for me and pleasure to speak before the community that has been created for the great mission to promote international peace and the resolution of conflicts among the nations and people of the world without resource to a violence. It was in the 1984, and it was 23.57 on the doomsday clock, one of the most serious crises of the Cold War era. But it turned out to be the last one. Soon the evil empire was defeated. Look, it's incredible. The law that established the Institute of the Peace was signed by President Reagan, the one who outlawed Russian forever. I used to see contradictions in this. Now I know there is none, because peace is not just the absence of war. Peace is guarantee of punishment for tyrant who complete aggression. Today, evil empire has returned from hell. It's been revenge. So in the Institute of Peace, I have to speak about war. Ukraine has been fighting for its freedom for 649 days. We have broken the plans of the Russians' blitzkrieg. We have stood firm. Ukrainians are immensely grateful to everyone who has helped us remain a sovereign and independent nation. We will not forget this. We have a long memory. You know, my acquaintances and all veterans kept a can opening from the set of Lend-Lease spam throughout his life. Just a reminder of the price our nation paid to overcome Nazism and exhausting six-year war. Now we are facing a war of attrition again. The evil empires is reviving an excess of evil. It creates new crises, fans the flames of the long-standing conflicts. The Middle East, Africa, possibly the Balkans. The rules-based world is under DDoS attack. Their plan is a global fire fought locally. We can and must prevent this. We need to treat the disease, not its symptoms. Negotiations with the terrorists always end in one fragile ceasefire. The key to peace lies to depriving their puppet masters of power. The peace formula presented by President Zelensky is just about this. It offers a comprehensive response to the security challenges facing humanity and restore justice to the world. It's Ukrainian formula, but the peace plan built on the has co-offers from around the world. We are turning goodwill into good actions. Says it's possible? Well, Bishop Milan writes, was skeptic too. Men will never fly because flying is reserved for the angels, he said. Within a year, his sons took to the skies. It took a year for our formula to take flight as well. In the first meeting of the ambassadors regarding the formula, 21 countries and international organizations were represented. In the 10th meetings held on the last Friday, we were 86. As a result of these meetings, mechanisms for implementing for formula are being created. Were finalized during meetings of security and foreign policy advisors. There have already been 3. The 4th is scheduled soon. With each meeting, they grow stronger. We get closer to the Global Peace Summit in the level of the leaders. A gathering of world leaders committed to achieving a just, sustainable, and comprehensive peace as quickly as possible. And we believe that this summit will take place very soon. I need to emphasize, our goal is to fix the international relations systems to make it work based on the rule of law rather than the law of force. The peace formula has already become international ecosystem. Now it is integrated structure, and its elements are closely interconnected. It is a framework onto which executive mechanism is mounted. A just, comprehensive, and lasting peace is only possible as a result of collective will and collective efforts. Responsible states that respect international law should stay united and committed to save the world. With prevention of war can only be achieved through the reliable multilateral security guarantee of Ukraine. This is foundation to build the future. Tyrants never stop their own. Their stop is not too late. The implementation of the peaceful formula will allow us to do that. Thank you for your attention.
Andriy, thank you very much
for
being here. Lise, thanks for introducing this.
Thank you.
It's a great honor to have Andriy Yermak here. It's a great honor to see this group here. This is quite a crew. You've drawn a crowd here, Andriy. So here we are at the Institute of Peace. And as you've said, we're here talking about, and as Lisa said, we're here talking about war today. The Institute of Peace looks for ways, options for a just and lasting peace. A just and lasting peace is not, as you've indicated, doesn't necessarily result from giving up, looking for a ceasefire. that won't lead, as you've indicated, to a just and lasting peace. John Herbst and I, and Ambassador Herbst, I should say, and David Kramer had a conversation earlier last week, and you referenced history back in 1984. Well, we were going all the way back to 1940. 1940 was the darkest hour for the Brits. For the Germans were going across the continent. British Army was almost surrounded. The new Prime Minister had just taken office. The old Prime Minister, Chamberlain, was arguing to Churchill that he should negotiate. And the Foreign Minister, Halifax, you should negotiate, Mr. Prime Minister, with Hitler. We can't win this. And as we know, Churchill said, no, we're going to fight on the beaches. We will not surrender. We hear a lot similar kinds of things from President Zelensky, from the Ukrainians. However, we also hear voices like Chamberlain and Halifax saying, it's hopeless, can't win, should negotiate. We've even heard that in this city and in Europe. Not from governments, as near as I can tell. We've not heard that from our government, others. I'm interested to know, Andriy, if you have heard this pressure, this suggestion that you negotiate at this point.
Thank you, Bill. I'd like to say, first of all, and to little bit back to the 2019, and to say that from the first day then President Zelensky started to be a president, Ukraine have more than 200 rounds of negotiation with Russia. Because you know that we have the heritage from the previous power, and we received Minsk agreements. And during 2 years, in the formats of Minsk, in the formats of Normandy, we have these rounds of negotiations. Everybody can see what happened in 24 of the February last year. And it was a result that we give Russia the opportunity to be prepared of this invasion. It's mean that for us, it's absolutely understandable that Ukraine, we have to win. Have to win, and we able to win this war. But of course, because the war in Ukraine have the big influence not just to our country, to the European continent, we can see that they have the influence to all the world, and they make a lot of crises. And I mean not just the crisis of food, I mean the crisis of ecology and many others. Of course, 1 year ago, President Zelensky announced Ukrainians' peaceful formula to show that we are very clear, very transparent about what the goal of this war and what it means the victory of Ukraine. First of all, it's our territory is the international recognized border. Our sovereignty, our independence, our freedom. This is the value for which we are fighting. And I'm very happy that, as I mentioned, we already have the recognitions of the responsible country, which already we have the last meetings, 86, who is recognized that peaceful formula of President Zelensky, it started to be not just political documents, it's absolutely realistic documents. In Malta, last meetings in the level of the political advisors and national security advisors, we presented the results of the 5 working groups, which mentioned first 5 points of the peaceful formula. It was really very successful, and all the participants, all colleagues have the opportunity to see that is real proposals, real decisions, which give to us perspective to end this war and to settle the crisis which was arised in the result of this war. It means that Ukrainians continue fighting. And we, once again, we know that we showed during these 2 years what we able to do. I'd like to once again to say we already liberated 50% of the territory which was occupied from 24th of the last year. We are practically today making big troubles for the Russian fleets in the Black Sea. And you know, after Russia go out from the grain initiatives, which was settled with the help of the Turkey and United Nations, we are created new corridors, and these new corridors, it's already worked. And this is recognized by everybody, including Turkey. It's mean that, but in the same time, we are go forward the peaceful formula. We are looking for the next meetings in the level of the advisors in the beginning of next year, in which we are planning to present the last 5 points, and then we are starting preparing for the first summit in the level of the leaders. Once again, the time of negotiation is finished. Now we see that we need to have the concrete plan, which will be supported by the mostly responsible country in the world, and will be the way if in some moment in the results of our success in the battlefield we can present as a real way how to end this war and how to liberate it all territories, not just was occupied from 24th of the February, but occupied beginning from the 2014th, including Crimea.
Andriy, there will be discussions this afternoon, and your president will address this issue this afternoon to our Congress. And you just made the point that with that support, with the support from the United States and the rest of NATO, you believe, and I've talked to some of your generals, and they also believe that if they get that support, they can get back to the 1991 borders, the borders that are internationally recognized. There's still skepticism about that. You know this. We've heard this. When you talk to the generals and when you talk to the people who are going to accomplish this mission that you just described, what do they tell you? How does this happen?
Bill, it's a war, and nobody can give you the 100% plan and guarantees that it's happened. How just it's very well, if just it's very well planning. But look to the fact. Look to the fact how it's beginning. Look to the fact what was the I have the very interesting conversation during my last visit to DC. It was meeting the National Security Advisor is in White House, and we are sitting this my good friend, colleagues, Jake Sullivan, Tim Barrow, Emmanuel Bon, and Jens Plotner, and in the end of these meetings, one of them said, "Look, it's incredible. We had our last meeting before invasion was in Brussels before 1 week. If somebody can say in that moment that just we can see you one more, or we can meet in practically 2 years in White House and talking about how to help you to win this war," we never believe. but it's happened. Of course, we need so much continue this aid. We need so much that Congress voted and supported this new package for Ukraine. And of course, it helped us to continue fighting and continue to liberate our territories. Of course, Ukraine have the concrete plan, and we're now working for our alliance and partners to finalize this plan for the next year, because we'd like to end and would like to win as soon as possible, because already 2 years, it's a big terms. It's a very difficult for our people, but Ukrainians still very motivated. And you're absolutely right. Our people believe and sure that we will win. Of course, I'm not a military expert, but I can say that it's a great that today our military, our intelligence worked very closely in the high levels of understanding the partners, especially this United States, the Great Britain, this other alliance. And it's mean that we really have the plan. And this plan, it includes and the military operations, as I said, it includes this diplomatic activity. And of course, it includes our cooperation in the communications and the information, because I think it's a very important. Sometimes we unfortunately started forget what we are already done together. It's incredible. It's necessary. Don't forget that we are fighting against big country. We are fighting against the big enemies of the NATO. And before these fightings, I think small group of the people in the world can imagine and can realize that it's in reality it's possible to stop this army, who is somebody called like a second army in the world. Now it's a second army in Ukraine.
Andriy, you're exactly right. So I have one last question, and then there are people in this room who would like to ask you questions as well. So you'll have the opportunity. You mentioned that the military aspect, and when I talk to Ukrainians, it's not after the war, it's after the victory. And then this peace formula goes into effect. How can now, even before that, while the military activity is going on, while the war goes on, how can the international community help? You've mentioned these conferences in Copenhagen and Jeddah and Malta, and one more coming up. Are there ways that the international communities, yes, governments, but even people like us, that can help you think through or give advice or provide examples or do some technical work in this area that would be useful for the 10-point plan?
Thank you, Bill. First of all, it's everything happened in parallel way. It's not mean that we are waiting something. We are continue fighting, every day. Every day we are in our people, our soldiers, our heroes fighting in the front line. In parallel way, we are not stopping to work on this initiative of the President Peaceful Formula. Why it's so important? Because you can see what happened for Putin, for Russia. He not have the results and not have the success in Ukraine. He started to make new fires around the world. You can see same line of this country like Russia, Iran, North Korea. They fire in Middle East. Now they're looking to the Balkans. It's mean that it's a very important to show them by the victory in Ukraine that dictators, The country who is not respect international law obviously will lose. This is strategically important for all our future, because in other countries, looking to them and looking to the results, what happened? Why today the Russia is so active? And because they want to divide the world. And peaceful formula, it's one of the very concrete possibility how to join the world. Because in this formula, for us, it's a very important participations, not just the countries who is strategically our partners, but the country from the global south, who is, some of them occupied neutral positions, some of them it's necessary to explain why for them it's not right to be in the side of the aggressors. And I can say that we have real success, because, you know, in Jeddah, practically all the global players from global south participated. And the number of this country from Latin America, Africa, Asia, it's increased by each meetings. And of course, the second reason for Russia is to back to the game. You can see that till we give any times to Russia to think that just in theoretical level it's possible for Putin not lose in Ukraine, he started to feel stronger. It's very important, strategically important, not give him and same countries who is once again not respect international law and international orders, to give this opportunity to think that they can win. Why so important to not lose the time? Why so important to really continue to help Ukraine to win? And once again, we show that we able, because once again, I'm not the military experts, and but please look to the facts, without emotions. What really happened during these 2 years? What concrete results? Calculated how today's losses of the Russians, it's 1 against 10. It's thousands Russian soldiers, which every day we destroyed in the front line. Yes, it's a very difficult. Yes, it's critically, we need a lot of things. First of all, the shelters 155. We still need long range missiles. We still need air defense. It's critically important. But you can see, if we received it, you can see the results of using. It's not just 100%. It's more. Concrete results. If we have air defense, our people back to Ukraine. If people back to Ukraine, it's help our economy increase. If we have air defense, the grain corridors working. If we will have air defense, we will increase our exports. It's mean that we can start to be economically more stronger. In the last, I'd like to say that you can see that we are, I can say, the best promoter for the many Americans' weapons, because you can, before Ukrainians started to use Patriots, nobody can be sure that Patriot, your Patriot, destroy any kind of missiles. And if you get some tapes of the one more Putin's lies, then he several times ago said that, looks, American taxpayers spend this money for nothing. We have some special rockets, special missiles. It's lie, because your patriot destroyed everything. And your patriots every night survived the lives of Ukrainians. And thank you very much.
Andrei, you're exactly right. Patriot missiles were amazing, but they were manned by, they were staffed by, they were operated by Ukrainians. We didn't know that those Patriots could actually shoot down those hypersonic missiles, and they did. You did with those weapons. So I am interested now in your questions and comments. I see Ambassador Herbst has got his hand up right away, but others will be very welcome to have this, Matt. And I see that we have some friends over here. Okay, good. John, you're first up, and Kirtika will have a mic for you.
Okay, Bill, thank you very much. Mr. Yermak, a lot of the people on the wrong side of the public debate here in the United States, and for that matter in Europe, say that Russia has the advantage of time. I think they're wrong, because the Ukrainian people are fighting for their existence and the Russian people are not fighting for their existence. I know that your intelligence services have very good feel for what's going on in Russia. What do you see as their vulnerabilities as this war goes forward? Russian vulnerabilities.
Russian weakness.
Yes. Thank you, John. Once again, look to the fact. Not just back from the very beginning, back to the period of Prigozhin, all this show. And you can see that the personally Putin and the Russia, because he is the person who is decided 100% of for everybody who is living in the Russia. They are really weak. You're absolutely right. They have not motivation because they are not fighting. Sometimes the soldiers who is taken by our soldiers in the front line, they explain that we don't know. We have 1 week for the preparation. We don't know for what we are going to Ukraine. Especially, you can see who now mostly fighting, and it's criminals. They send the person, they back to the ideology of Stalin. They send the person who is understand. If they go back, they will be killed in the moment. It's mean that it's explanations for what and why they have not these motivations. Plus, I absolutely believe that it's a very important the position of the world. And this is great that the mostly people, ordinary people in the world, nevertheless to their own problems, their life with change, new challenges, but they still very support Ukraine because they understand for what we are fighting. The people, we give the chances to the world to really understand it's possible to live and to not be afraid. It started some values which we have mentioned a lot of times, but sometimes it started be like the theoretical things. We show that it's absolutely practical things. How people, because I'd like to back in the beginning, the first months of the full-scale invasions. In that moment, we have not HIMARS, we have not, but the people stop tanks by the hands. These nations can't stop. These Ukrainian nations can't tired because I can say, if it's possible you know that your child ill, unfortunately, and you're sure that you can survive and help, how it's possible to tired? You can go in other rooms, spend some and back, because it's impossible. We are living in these emotions.
Thank you, Andriy. So right here and then here. Yeah, please.
Thank you. Jonathan Lande with Reuters. Russia, Dr. Yermak, has been stepping up its offensive operations in the east. And even though it's seems to be taking huge losses, it's still continuing to increase or to wage these offensive operations. Are Ukrainian troops now having to switch to the defensive after the the summer counteroffensive, or are the Ukrainian troops able to continue offensive operations under these conditions?
Thank you. First of all, don't forget that Putin have the election in next year. For Putin, it's a very important any dates. It was many of them. Never during these 2 years he have not any real big success which he tried to organize for some particular dates. Nothing changed. He continues same strategy. Of course, you're absolutely right. The size of the country different. Plus, you know, we have why so fundamental difference between Ukrainians and Russians. For us, life of each person, it's a very important. For them, nothing. They just don't take the body of the people who is killed. Some place, thousands of them stay in the land. Now I can say that you know it's combines, of course, first of all for defendings and for some separate offensive operations in some directions. You're absolutely right that the numbers of the forces, the number of which Russia concentrated, not just in the east, in different directions, of course, to make for us difficulties. Why so important? And if we are very concretely mention some places, like for example Kherson, why for us so important long-range missiles? Because just in the liberated territories, for us it's very difficult without these particular weapons to defend our people who is back, who is believe and who is stay in this place. But they under the attack every night, every day, non-stopping. This is my answer.
Thank you, Jonathan. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much. I'm Jill Baggerman here at USIP, and thank you for allowing us to host you today.
Thank you.
My question brings us back to the 10-point plan, and especially some of the points that essentially boil down to the immediate protection of the environment or in their implementation have significant implications on water security, especially on the Dnieper River. I am curious for what options or mechanisms you envision for implementing these parts of the peace plan, especially as the river also is a part of the defensive line. So what kinds of things are feasible for either unilaterally, bilaterally, or with multilateral support, implementing the peace plan for current and future generations of Ukrainians? Thank you.
Thank you. Very important issue, and because the damages to ecology system, it's terrible. It's really terrible, and what is important to understand that a lot of events happened in the world, and a lot of very respected people to meet and to discuss some future potential crisis. But we already have this problem. We already have this tragedy in Ukraine. And this is important to show that the humanity and all the world, we are able, first of all, to really realize, to test it, what happened, what real damage, because this issue have several elements. First of all, it's necessary to really fix what happened and what real damages. Real damages, it's not only about to understand how to survive, how to settle this, but real damages as well, it's a very important, because to calculate it for the future compensations, for the future courts. And the second, it's a very important to understand, if it's possible, how to back to the normal life. Because if we are looking to Kakhovska station's catastrophe, nobody can say for you 100%. If it's possible, just in theory, to back to the level of the life, to back to the kind of the animals, to the kind of the nature around this place. And the last, how we can prevent and how we can protect it for any potentials in the future same catastrophe. This is the goals and elements of the for example, the special groups which we are created on the base of the task of the President Zelensky in the Office of Presidents, in which we include very famous international expert who is already working, and we are looking very soon of one of the first documents which will be concentrated especially for the recommendations, for the analysis, especially of these three elements. And thank you very much, because the points of the peaceful formula about ecology, I think one of the most important, because it's, once again, it's about our future. And you know what, one of the genius, I think, idea which we are received from our colleagues, experts, and this is a very important, in the result of this work, to create the ecology map of Ukraine. Because, you know, I think the influence in the world for this war will be bigger if the people, especially in Latin America, in the country who is located in the long distance from Ukraine, exactly understand how beautiful Ukraine, why it's really masterpiece. Because, no, unfortunately, if something, for example, happened in Italy, everybody in the world imagine country museum and understand what is it. When we explain what happened in Ukraine, many people in the world not understand. It's necessary to explain, it's necessary to have this ecology map. Thank you.
Thank you, Andriy. Sir.
Thank you, Pastor Taylor. Thank you. I just wanted to ask, you come here as, as Congress is debating spending legislation in the supplemental that would include funding for Ukraine. So I was wondering, when I was in Kiev in September, when Secretary Blinken was there, Prime Minister Shmyhal said that direct budgetary support is very important for the government of Ukraine coming from the U.S. So I wondered if you could give us a concrete example of problems that your government budget would have, or problems on the battlefield that would occur if the United States is not going to approve more aid for Ukraine. Thank you.
Thank you very much. give you a very concrete answer. If the help, which now debating in Congress, will be just postponed, I wanted to say not happened, it gives the big risk that we can be in same position when we are located now. And of course, it's make with very high possibility impossible to continue liberate and give the big risk to lose this war. If we're talking about direct budget support, of course, you know that we showed that once again, it's very important to understand, just during this terrible war, of course, the your support, the help of the other partners, but we in life, our country living, our people backing to Ukraine. And of course, without this direct budget support, it will be difficult to keep and to keep in same positions and to be for the people to really survive. To really survive during the situation, then the war it's continue. Is why it's extremely critically important that this support will be voted and will be voted as soon as possible.
Are you meeting people in Congress on this trip?
Yes, just today. Immediately after our meetings. I go to the Congress, I go to the White House, I go to the State Departments, yes. You know that, as said, our President Vladimir Zelensky, it's mean that we need to spend for interest of Ukraine each minute which we outside of Ukraine.
So Andriy, you mentioned that you've got tight time, and so I'm going to ask 3 people to ask their questions, and you can respond to any or all of them.
Okay.
And she will tell us how much time we have left. So let's start here, 1, 2, and 3.
Nina Japariza, Global Analytics and Advisory Services. I'm so happy to know that you're going to make visits around Washington. Amongst your asks, are you going to focus at all on the need to get U.S. support for information operations? Information sphere inside of Russia is dominant by certain messages, and people are very limited to the kinds of insights that they're getting about the war. How big is this a priority for you? In addition to long-range missiles, air defense, are you making an ask for additional help in information
Good
operations?
question. Hang on to that one.
Yeah.
Okay, good. And?
Yeah, Peter Summer. I'm with PK Summer with Capital Intel CI Ukraine. My question is, you're meeting with the U.S. defense companies today, tomorrow. Have you got any commitments of producing in Ukraine from people like Lockheed CEO James Tacklet? Another question is, rather than asking for money or for getting funding, are you working to get the $300 billion of Russian frozen assets from the central bank and almost $200 billion of oligarch frozen assets to Ukraine now so you can finish the war and rebuild the country as you're fighting Russia? Is that something that you're working on? It's almost $400 to $500 billion. Thanks.
Very good, very good. And Matthew.
Thank you very much, Mr. Yermak. My name is Matthew Murray, and I teach at Columbia, but I also do project work in Ukraine. And I was just appointed by the Cabinet of Ministers to help select the new chair of the National Agency for Corruption Prevention. And I also work for the Ministry of Digital Transformation on their efforts to digitize governance and change the essence of the way government works in Ukraine. I think this would be a good opportunity for you to talk to this audience about what Ukraine is doing to both fight Russia and fight corruption at the same time. So we would welcome your thoughts on what you're doing proactively to build on the great progress that you've already made. Thank you.
Matthew, thank you. So, Andriy, information operations, co-production and frozen assets, and corruption. You got it.
Everything.
You got it. Okay.
First, you know that information, it's a very strong weapons. And definitely in the beginning of full-scale invasions, I can say that we absolutely win in the beginning this war. Now we feel that we little bit give to Russia some advantage of this. And Russian propaganda machine, because all this Soviet school, KGB school, it's really strong. It's necessary to understand. And of course, it's the work, we can't do it without cooperation with the partners. First of all, it's important to work against Russians' disinformations, because it's not the secret that not have the success in the battlefield. Of course, Russia started to use any mechanism internal in the country, internal in the Europe, to talk about little bit, I back to your questions, but of course, we're fighting these corruptions. Of course, 40 years we have these problems. But it's not true that Ukraine is the most corrupted country in the world. This is the difference. To fight things, to show concrete results, and to have these narratives. Next, I'm absolutely sure that now, of course, Middle East, Israel, but it's necessary that especially American society of our partners know the truth, know the positive truth, know about problems, but know exactly and why the presidents, very much concentrated and give the tax to the military, that the mostly international journalists have the opportunity to go to the front line, to see what happened, to see positive things, how work your weapons, what the problems, what if some have the delay for just 155 or something more, what really created the problems. This is a very, very important. You know that after Vilnius, after declarations of the security guarantees, and already 40 countries joined to these documents, and we have started these consultations, we ask our partners include the points of the informational security as the obvious points in these documents. I think it's a very important, and I hope that it's necessary these coordinations, and in the level of the Council, NATO, Ukraine, and in the level of the bilateral relationship. We are very much, for us it's one of the big priority. Joint productions. Yes, I'm waiting very much for the conference for today. It's my main goal to come. Thank you very much for President Zelensky, President Biden, who has decided about this conference. I hope it will be very successful. I can say for you honestly, yes, I have a lot of meetings tomorrow. My estimate, and I ask the team who is coming, you know, we coming for the delegation, the speaker, Stefanchuk, we are Minister Umerov of Defense, the Ministry of Strategic Industry, Commission. I hope that I wanted to make in advance comments, but my estimate that we need to have we have tomorrow very concrete, because I have task from presidents back with concrete decisions. We not coming to talk like maybe after years we have war, we need air defense, we need shelters, we need many things. We understand that it's not enough that we now are receiving, and we're responsible people. I'd like to explain. We are very appreciate your help and support. We are very respect everything which doing, especially from United States. but we are responsible people. We are looking to the future. We want sometimes to lose, and I'm sorry, to not lose. It's to change these proportions and to start it, be stronger ourselves together, this you, and start it and make this localization in Ukraine. We are looking for that this procedure will be as quick as possible. We have extremely talented new generation of the people. We need it, and for the capability our military, and the same time for our capability economical, because it's give to us opportunity for new job place. It's you know, 2 weeks ago I have the extremely interesting meetings in our technical university in Kiev. You know, I was so impressed how many young people, first of all, who is decided to stay in Ukraine, who is believe in the future of Ukraine, who is already participated, and we just decided, I need to additionally check, but I hope that it's happened, that we just back 3 best students who present some interesting projects to bring to this conference. They will have opportunity to talk and maybe to found the partners for the future joint ventures. I think it's a very important to join the your technology, our capability, our motivations, and unfortunately today's the opportunity to use it tomorrow in the front line. It's a very, very important. Plus, I think it's important that, you know, these cooperations, I hope after this war, it will be just now. You need to know that up to the 70% of the financial aids, it stay in United States. You know, we are for us it's important, for all of us, to win this war. But looking to the perspective, looking to the future, of course, all the people in the world understand that the next 20 years, this industry will be just increase. And of course, we need to think about it. And we know and we're sure that our joint productions, our own productions, in one of our strategy and one of the priority. About corruption.
It has to be pretty
Yes.
quick,
Yeah.
because your team is giving me the signal here, but go ahead.
I can say for you a following. Before I started to work in the office of president, 25 years, I work in the as an international lawyers in Ukraine. I personally know what means the court system in Ukraine in the past years. I absolutely remember how 20 years ago I go to my first court hearings. I didn't sleep 1 week. I prepared. I think, okay, I remember the movie like Firms, like about Americans movie about lawyers, and I imagine that the judge will sitting listen me how I'm defended my clients. After 10 minutes, I exactly understand. It's not interesting anybody. I personally know what is it corruption in the past time. I defended international companies in Ukraine who was under the pressure of the tax authority without any legal basis. Why, for me personally, it's a very important. Then President Zelensky started and decided to go to the presidents, why for him, for successful person, very successful person, he decided to go to the politics in not, okay, nobody can understand these challenges. It was impossible to understand these challenges, which we in reality have. But one of the most important reasons is we'd like to stay and to live in Ukraine, but we can't recognize and accept the system which exists. Why for us in the blood? It's not because somebody recommended, somebody asked, request, because in our blood, reforms in our country. The second, you know, always, if nothing happened and the people just talking about reforms, and we remember that time, it was nothing, not any scandal, not any publications, because nothing happens. People declared. But when in the prisons, chief of the Supreme Court, when in the prisons, oligarch Kolomoisky, when in the prisons, deputy of the ministers, it means that what is the most important? That for main person, for the presidents of the country, who is zero tolerance to the corruptions, this is the most important. It's give chance and strong think that these fightings really will be successful. Plus, I think it will be difficult to mention another country in the world which during so terrible war, you can see just to European countries, which have not war, but they not make so significant real steps for fighting the corruptions, to reform the countries. We already, you can see the results, the recommendation of Euro Commissions. And we are looking for the last 5 losses, including special anti-corruption prosecutor and minorities. We will vote. I hope it will be enough to our Hungarian friends. It's because for us it's extremely important that European Council voted and opened the negotiations for our future membership. The same happened, and the task of the presidents, that now we have not another standards for our military. We have one standards of NATO, because our future in NATO. We show that Ukrainian army, one of the strongest army in the Europe. It means that we're already part of the Western military alliance society. It means it's logical that our future it's a membership of NATO. And the last things about corruptions. You know that I don't know where in the world existing so strong and so large anti-corruption systems. If you can analyze, you can see this fact. And this is already existing in Ukraine. And what is the most important? That the first time then all this anti-corruption body have the full support of their proper, very clear activity from the power. Because long period of time, they exist separately, doing something, and the power existing separately. Now they have political will, first of all, from the president of Ukraine.
Andriy, thank you very much. Let me do three
Thank you.
things. Let me do 3 things. One is, but thank you very much for
Thank
this.
you,
This is
Bill.
great
Thank
job.
you. Thank you.
Second is, if people will stay, just stay seated for a moment, we'll get Andriy out of here. Third is, for those of you who can stick around a little bit, there's another senior official from Moldova who is actually going to be here at noon, and Ambassador Bill Hill is going to, with Jorgen Andrews, going to have that conversation with them. So stick around if you will, and Andriy, thank you again for all your time.
Thank you.
Good.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for listening to this event. If you'd like to listen to more events or explore our other podcasts, visit usip.org/podcasts.